It's time to put the D in justice.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another set review of My Glorious Justice, and this time we're going to take a look at the new Dimension Police cards. Not only did they got some awesome new support for dimensional robos, they also got some generic stuff as well as some interesting new cards with interesting mechanics around the alien archetype. So maybe we can make some new decks around that with future support maybe next year. So without further ado, let's jump right into these cards and see how they might improve the upcoming build for Dimensional Robo or just Dimensional Police in general. First off, we've got a couple of reprints for the triggers. As usual, I only give them 1 stars as there are just reprints. But, just like the other clans, they got an inclusion of the new crit, so they can now build 12 crit builds, and that is Dimensional Robo Die Racer. And for this one, I'm gonna give 3 stars as it's just a solid card that allows for more options in the trigger lineups. Dimension Police also got a new starter, that is Little Hero Drago Kit, and I'm only gonna give this 1 star as it's just another reprint, or it's just a similar card with just different design and different name, but nothing else than that. Dimension Police also got a new Grade 1 vanilla that's actually the same vanilla that Axel got in Wave 1, and it is Lightning Saucer. Again, it's not a great vanilla card in most scenarios. It does help and synergize with the more defensive and aggro capability of Force, but it's not really worth it to run it besides all the key cards that Dimension Police and most decks have in their Grade 1 slot. So only gonna give it 1 star for this vanilla as well. Then they also got a second vanilla card, and it's a Grade 2, that's Strategist Leader Saxilia. But besides the artwork that's pretty awesome, it is just a carbon copy of Mad Scepter X, as it is a 10k vanilla. So a reprint doesn't bring anything new to the table, so only 1 star as it's just a copy. Then they also got the new Grade 1 Perfect Guard, and for them that's Battle Heroine Enora, and just like the other Perfect Guards, I'm gonna give it 3 stars as it opens up new playability and deck designing. Now we can finally start going off the new cards, and we're gonna kick it off with Star King Ambassador Gingard, a very defensive card as it has a skill, continues on Guardian Circle. If your Vanguard's grade is lower than the grade of your opponent's Vanguard, this unit gets shield plus 15k. The problem with this card is, even though it has a very defensive capability as it has 20k shield, is that it's super limited, as you either need to go second or you need to be grade stuck somewhere down the line to be able to use its skill, or you need to be facing off against a clan that has a grade 4 and that they are sitting at their grade 4. Overall, not a great card, very limited play, only give it 1 star as it doesn't really do that much. Then next we got a new Grade 1 as Operator Girl Haruka, and her skills on a Vanguard Circle. When placed, if your Vanguard has power 30k or greater, Soul Charge 1. And this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. Overall, it's a nice skill. It is free in most scenarios. It does gain 5k, only sadly on this unit itself. Usually you want to give the 5k to your Vanguard in Dimensional Police. And it doesn't really help that she's 7k on her own, but she will become a 12k booster, so it's nothing really to sneeze at. And the Soldiers is very handy, as a lot of powerful skills do use Soul Blast. However, with the new Disaurus that also goes into the Soul won't really be a problem for Dimension Police, and it might give this card a little bit limited to use. But there are some decks and strategies that can utilize her, so for that I'm gonna give it 3 stars, as it is a free card. You don't really have to do much to activate her skill. Then next we got another Grade 1, and that is Glory Maker. And her skills on a Vanguard Circle, when it boosts, if the boosted unit has power 30k or greater, cost Counterblast 1, and until the end of battle, your opponent can only call grade 0s from his or her hand. Count the power increase from boosting as well. So this will basically give your Vanguard, in most cases, the Silent Tom effect. They only can use grade 0s. It does stop protect markers, so it helps Force, in this case Dimension Police, a little bit with it. But overall not really that significant, as a lot of the times they can guard it with their triggers and they have draw PG, so they can still utilize that. And so it doesn't really stop that much. And in a clan that is using a lot of Counterblast and using Counterblast for way more powerful skills than this, I don't think this is a really good card. It's not really fit because they don't have a counter charger whatsoever. And that's why I'm only gonna give it 2 stars, as yes, the skill can help, but in most cases it will not amount to much, and it's basically using a very valuable resources for something that says, well, they can no longer use their protect markers, but if they have a draw PG, then and this literally did nothing. You're not sure for value out of the card, and what you want with Dimensional Police is get certain amount of value for each and every counterblast that you use it. So currently, it's not a really good fit for the deck in my honest opinion. Then next we got a very awesome grade 2 that is Quick Hero Active Mask. And its skill is auto rearguard circle once per turn when your Vanguard attacks. If that unit has power 30k or greater, cost Counterblast 1 and stand this unit. Count the power increase from boosting as well. This is a very awesome card in my opinion. I'm gonna give it 3 stars as it uses Counterblast as well, and Counterblast is very limited in the deck, but it's a very powerful skill in a Force Clan that can finally deal with something like Protect, as they can multi-attack with the rearguards. And a lot of people probably won't like the card that much, but you can basically look at it as how effective the grade is and translate it a little bit to this card, because the grade has a restanding rearguard and a restanding Vanguard. But to do that, it costs you 2 discards and a counterblast. But in the case of Dimensional Police, if you combine discard with Ultimate Great Ayusha, you can get a similar scenario where you have 2 Vanguard attacks and 2 rearguard attacks, but it costs you 2 counterblast, but no discard. So for 2 counterblasts, you have a restanding rearguard and a restanding Vanguard. But also, both attacks are way more powerful than what you're gonna see in Kagerou's case. And a lot of people already think that the grade is already very good. So in that case, this should be a very powerful combination and a very powerful card. However, there are some downsides to this card, because Counterblast is more limited in Dimensional Police than in Kagero, and the grade fetches Neo Flame from the drop zone that will not happen in this case. But in the case of this card, you can stack triggers on top of it with your first Vanguard attack, then attack with this unit with the triggers on top of it, and then restand it once you attack with your Ultimate Great Ayusha that can also stack triggers onto this card if you want to do that. So you can get more value out of this rearguard than out of Neo Flame with Overlord the Great in certain scenarios. So keep that in mind. And I think it's a card that should not be underestimated in some scenarios, because it can really push for game. Now let's take a look at what I was hinting at the beginning of the video, and that is the new alien cards, as we've got a little bit of alien support in this set as well. Not enough to make a full deck out of it, but maybe the groundwork of something in the next support wave that we maybe get next year. And we're gonna start off with this grade 1, that is Drilling Monster Mock Drilla. And its skill is Auto Rearguard Circle. When it boosts, if your damage zone has 4 or more cards, cost Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of battle. So a limit break skill returns to standard. It's not the first of limit break skills, but this is very, very in the sense of a limit break skill. Overall, I'm only going to give it 2 stars, as it is very limited that you need to have the amount of damage that you need to have 4, but also you need a Soul Blast to give this unit 10k. You usually want to give your Vanguard the power and not really your rearguards. In the aliens, it might work while giving your rearguards more power, but also using Soul Blast, it's not really that great, as you're gonna see with the other cards that you probably need to solve for some other things. So I only give it 2 stars right now. Might be better in the future, but not that great right now. Then we got the grade 2 alien, and that is Lethal Toxic Monster Dagiru, and its skill is Act on Rearguard Circle. If your Vanguard has power 30k or greater, cost Counterblast 1 and put this unit into your soul. Draw a card, and one of your Vanguards get power plus 15k until the end of turn. So overall, it will generate soul. It does cost a Counterblast, but it will fetch you another card. So it's a cycle card, very similar to what we've seen with the Aqua Force grade 2, as well as another card in the upcoming set for Narukami. But it also gives your Vanguard 15k power, so that's also a lot of power increase. The fact that you need to put a rearguard into the soul might sound bad, but as we're gonna see with the next card, you can do a synergy combo that will basically give you a lot of value from basically nothing. So overall, I'm gonna give it 3 stars, as it's a very solid synergy card. It gives you a lot of value, but the fact that it's on 9k body isn't really that ideal, so you don't want to ride it. But the fact that you need to put himself into the soul isn't really that big of a deal, as you were gonna see with the next card that will give you more value out of this card as well. And the card that I was referring to is this grid 1, Heat Source Monster Genna Laser. And its skill is Act on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle once per turn, cost Rest a Rearguard, and this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of turn. So basically, you rest the grade 2, and then you put it into the soul with the grade 2 skill of its own, and you get double the value out of that one card. And you basically gave this unit 10k power as well. And it can be an 80k booster, an 80k attacker, or maybe even higher if you use a force marker underneath it. It's a very solid combo, and this is a very easy card that can give a lot of power very easily on the board without really that much of problems. So overall, I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's a very solid card with overall a lot of potential for the upcoming Alien series when we're going to get more cards in the future. Now for the boss monsters of these Alien cards, we have this grade 3, that's Battling Leader Greggio, and its skills is Auto and Vanguard Circle. When placed, your opponent may counterblast 1. If he or she does not, look at 2 cards from the top of your deck and call them to the rearguard circle. So basically you either force your opponent to counterblast 1, so they waste resources, and against some clans that it can be a death sentence. But if they do not, or they maybe can't because they already used all their counterblasts, you get 2 rearguards for free. Yes, they are random cards and you might not have full control over them, but even if there are bad cards, you can maybe rest them with the grade 1 that we just talked about, so you can get some value out of them in mostly any type of scenarios. The only downside is it's a on-place Vanguard skill, and this card doesn't have a force marker, so it take it or leave it in that sense. But I also got a second skill, and that's Auto on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle. When your Vanguard is attacked, Soul Blast 1 and move up to 2 of your Rearguards to the Guardian Circle. So, as I stated before, when you're going to call triggers with his first skill, that might not be a big of a problem because you can then use them as interceptors even if they were on the back row. So, you'll get a lot of value out of all your Rearguards. You can just call a lot of units to the field, even as boosters, all your grade 1s, because you can still use them as 10k shields. That will help the deck with a lot of defensive capabilities, and it also works with the rearguard unit, so that will make this card a lot more promising and a lot more interesting for the archetype themselves. But overall, it doesn't really give that much of value on its own. You need to ride it, and the fact that it doesn't have a force marker limits the power potential really hard. And if we're gonna look at the next grade 3, it's a little bit wonky to see how it will interact and what you want to do for the deck. So for now, I'm only going to give it 2 stars, as yes, the card has a lot of potential, but it does need a better partner card to go with it to make it a complete package. And we currently do not really have that right now. And now the final card for the Alien series is this big monster that is Roaring Beast Audion. And its skills is Act on Vanguard Circle, once per turn, cost Soul Blast 1 grade 3, put any number of your rearguards into the soul, and this unit gets power plus 5k and critical plus 1 until the end of turn for each of them. So basically you write the previous card, get 2 units maybe out of it, and then next turn put them into the soul if you didn't use them for guard, and then gain 10k power and 2 crits, maybe more if you put more into your soul. So it basically, the first skill is what we actually wanted to have when we got Gun Salute Dragon instead than just singular 5k power. We wanted actually to have this kind of effect for each card going into the soul, or soul blasting in Gun Salute case. You will get that amount of power. So it is a very solid effect. It is limited in the amount of cards that you can put into the soul because you only have 5 rearguard circles, so it can only get an increase of plus 25k and a crit of 5, but that's not really something to sneeze at, because that's an OTK turn if you can hit them for that attack. But they also have a second skill, and that's Auto and Vanguard Circle. When it attacks, Soul Blast 3, and until the end of the battle, when your opponent would call cards from his or her hand to the Guardian Circle, he or she must call 2 cards or more at the same time. So it's basically the Battle Door effect. The 2 skills do complement each other, but overall you need to use a lot of resources for not really that much of value, because yes, it's a very strong attack, but it's a very similar one attack, and it's just a perfect guard and it's stopped. You cannot really do anything about it. Yes, he has a Battle Door skill, but then again, that doesn't stop a perfect guard, so you can just perfect guard it and put an extra card on the field and you just stop their attack. And for that, they probably used a lot of rearguards, so the question is, do they have enough cards to fill out the field to have more pressure, or did they just waste everything for this single attack? That's basically what this card is screaming right now. That is a very strong one-dimensional attack. Your center line is very powerful, but you don't really have something on your rear guards themselves. But it's the fact how good you can synergize this with the other cards. You have the grade 1 that can rest stuff, that itself gain power, and then you can put the rested rear guard into the soul with its first skill. So you have some of these synergies, but currently I don't think the synergy is strong enough to make it a actual viable strategy. So for that, I'm only gonna give it 3 stars, as it probably needs 1 or 2 more cards to make it a good rogue strategy or something playable. But right now, it doesn't really look like it's a full complete deck as it is. Now we're going to get to the main cards for the current Dimensional Police set, and these 4 new cards are going to be some very strong additions for the Dimensional Robo deck that we had from the first Champion of the Asia Circuit set. And we're going to start off with this great one, that's Magical Police Quilt, and her skills is auto on Vanguard the Vanguard circles. When placed, discard a card from your hand, and one of your Vanguards gets power plus 10k until the end of turn. So for discard plus 10k, is not really that bad of a skill, to be honest, because sometimes you're just missing that amount of power and you don't want to use your Counterblast or your Soul Blast, or you maybe don't have access to them anymore, and you're just stuck. This card can fix those scenarios and can also help you when you're whiffing with Die Liner skill to push him over that threshold to maybe activate all your skills, because getting over a certain power is really important to Dimensional Police, and this card does allow you to do that in another way that doesn't force you to use Counterblast or Soul Blast. But she also has the second skill, and that's Auto Vanguard Circle. When your Vanguard attacks, if that unit has power 30k or greater, cast Counterblast 1 and draw a card. Count the power increase from boosting as well. So whenever it attacks, you can Counterblast 1 and draw a card, because in most scenarios you're attacking for more than 30k, especially with her first skill. So you can basically refund herself with a discard. However, once again, you're probably not going to use this skill all that often, as Counterblast is very limited and a very important skill resource, and it's probably not good enough to just use it for a +1. You don't really want to do that in Dimensional Police, as you can basically +2 out of it with Super Dimensional Robo Ultimate Dayusha. However, granted, with Super Dimensional Robo Ultimate Great Dayusha, you can use her skill twice, as you attack twice with the Vanguard, and it's not a once per turn skill. So it has some synergy there, but as long as we have no counter charger, it's probably not a useful synergy. Overall, I'm going to give this card 4 stars because our first skill is very solid and helps the deck with a lot of consistency problems in the scenarios where you just don't get that final amount of power to go over the threshold to use all your skills. And next up, we've got this grade 2, that's Platinum Ace, and its skill is Continuous on Vanguard Circle. During your turn, this unit gets power plus 15k. So it's a solid 15k attacker on your Vanguard Circle on your grade 2 right target. That's pretty decent when you have an 8k booster. It's a 23k column, so even when you are in an awkward scenario when your opponent is on a grade 3 already, maybe against something like Ezel, you can still hit them over even though you have a lower power base. So it's a pretty decent skill, and you can also rush maybe early game more, as a defensive trigger will not stop your Vanguard attack in those scenarios. So it can help with that. So overall, a pretty solid skill. But I also got a second skill, that's Auto on Rearguard Circle once per turn. When it attacks, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater with power 30k or greater, cast Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets power plus 10k, critical plus 1 until the end of turn. Yeah, that's pretty insane. That's a 5-star effect right there, because now you have crit and power pressures from your rearguard. We already had something like Die Dragon that could come with power, but it still was a 1 damage attack, and you were basically betting on a crit trigger to make those power attacks a little bit more devastating. But now with this grade 2, you don't even need those, because now almost all attacks will come with a crit. You have your Vanguard that will be in most scenarios with a crit, and now you have rearguards that will also swing with crits. And we already had those in the past, but those weren't really the most useful skills or most useful units, but this one is. And this is a great addition for the deck, as it can become a 30k attack with a crit on your ultimate Dayusha turn without even getting a force marker underneath it and without even getting triggers. That's pretty solid right there. And it only for a Soul Blast, and I said it before, the Soul Blast in the Dimensional Robo build isn't really that much of an issue, especially with all the new cards and new additions, where we can build up Soul as well, and aren't really that reliant on the Soul Blast skill that gives the Vanguard plus 5k, as we have other ways to increase our Vanguard's power more effectively, and with just more power overall. In general, this is an amazing 5-star card right there, right then. There's nothing to talk about in that sense. Then we get to the actual Super Dimensional Robo cards that were in this set, and there are 2, and both of them are pretty damn amazing. First one I want to talk about is Super Dimensional Robo Dizerus, and its skills is Continuous on Vanguard Circle. During your turn, this unit gets power plus 5k for each card in your damage zone. So this is a very powerful late game attacker, as it can have plus 25k or plus 20k without even doing anything. Overall, it's not really that of an amazing skill, if I'm very honest, as you rather want to be on the old Dayusha in those scenarios because it comes with a crit. This doesn't. Yes, the extra power will help you to met all the conditions without even using resources. But besides that, on the Vanguard circle, it doesn't really do anything. But they gave this skill and a fact as a force marker just so you have a safety when you need to ride this thing. So it's an added bonus because this is definitely a rearguard unit, because its second ability is on a rearguard circle. At the end of the battle that it attacked, if your Vanguard's power is 35k or greater, cast counter plus 1 and put this unit into your soul, and one of your Vanguards gets power plus 10k and drive plus 1 until the end of turn. This is pretty damn significant. This is right there a 5-star card just for this skill, because you can give any Vanguard an extra drive check as well as the power. You also give the power and you fix the soul because it goes into the soul, so you can use it for a soul blast for maybe something like Diamond Ace that we just looked at. But this extra drive check will give a lot of more power potential as well as more consistency, because the condition is 35k or more. So if your Vanguard is 35k exactly and you use the skill, it will go up to 45. So meaning you will just hit the mark for Ultimate Great Ayusha, so you can then superior right into that thing. But if you're already under 45k, you can attack with your Vanguard first, then use Ultimate Great Ayusha to rewrite, then give this unit the extra 10k of Ultimate Great Ayusha, so this attack will even be stronger, then attack with this, and then give your Ultimate Great Ayusha an extra drive check as well as the extra power, which means you will have more chance of drive check and crit trigger with your Ultimate Great Ayusha, which then means that your first Vanguard will probably come with an extra crit, then your second Vanguard will come with an extra crit, and then if we have something like Diamond Ace on the rearguard circle, then we have another rearguard that will come with an extra crit. That's pretty damn good, and you'll just add a lot more cards because this grade 3 will translate into an extra card that is an extra drive check, and if you maybe hit the draw trigger, that's another extra card you get. So a lot of power, a lot of potential in just one of this card, and it synergizes with any type of grade 3 because Dimensional Police is all about power and it isn't restricted to some archetypes. So overall, a very solid card, and for premium it's amazing because you can give your strides even more drive checks, especially restanders. So yeah, a very good card. But now it's time to take a look at the boss monster of Dimensional Robo and the card that's basically gonna upgrade the current build besides Disaurus, of course. And that is Super Dimensional Robo Die Liner. And it also got 2 skills. Its first one's continuous of Vanguard Circle. All your grade 3 units get shield plus 10k. So all your grade 3s will be now guardable. They won't have intercept, but they are going to be useful as guards. And it seems we're probably going to use a lot of grade 3s in your decks. This is a very nice welcome addition to the deck to have, so you don't lose out on guard potential, while still attain all the powerful effects of all these new grade 3s. And then we got a second ability which basically rounds up everything, and that's Act on Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, cost counter plus 1 and soul plus 1. Look at the 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 normal unit from among them and put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So you will always plus 1 of the skill. But if you reveal a grade 3, this unit gets power plus 20k and a critical plus 1 until the end of turn. So you'll get a grade 3 to hand, maybe a Disaurus, maybe you fix your next right chain, maybe you get Ultimate Great Ayusha. It's all good basically. And then this unit becomes a 33k attack with 2 crits. And then you probably need 1 booster and the 10k of the Disaurus, or maybe the 5k of another card, and you're pretty much ready to go to immediately go in your Ultimate Great Ayusha turn the next following turn, if you can basically do it again, and get the extra drive checks, get all the extra attacks, and you can see where everything goes with this. This card helps a lot with the consistency. This card also allows you to basically run a lot of grade 3s, as not only does it turn them into shield value, you also can search them out, and when you do that, this card will become incredibly strong and very powerful for not really that much of a cost. And you just filter your deck pretty damn quickly, which means the chances of drive checking triggers will sky high rocket through the roof, if that sentence makes any type of sense. So Die Liner is obviously, in my opinion, a definitely 5-star card, as it just fixes a lot of consistency issues. You will fix a lot of things. You can make a different build and you can just amp up the power potential of Dimension Police, and it's just a very solid card in general. So we've seen a lot of new cards for Dimension Police. Of course, we saw the new additions for the Super Dimensional Robo lineup with Dyliner and Disaurus, which are some incredibly strong cards, but at the same time we've got some generic support cards that are very good for the current build, but also for some generic builds or budget builds, because they work with basically anything. We've got a Restanding Rear Guards that's also pretty damn good, some guard restricts options, and to top it all off, we also got these new cards for the Alien series. Currently, they aren't really complete yet. They're still missing some key pieces, but they have some solid strategies and things surrounding them that makes them already interesting enough, and we'll probably have to wait to see for next year how we can complete that deck, and maybe this is just a setup for something like Zeal, because that thing has to return to Dimension Police, its standard, one point or another. And I think with the inclusion of these new Alien cards, it's probably inevitable at this point. But that's basically everything for this Dimension Police set reviews. A lot of interesting cards, a lot of interesting new additions to the deck, and overall very good stuff to increase the damage potential and upgrade the old build for Dimensional Robos, as it was long due that they needed something new to play with, as well as make them more meta relevant, as they were all pretty much falling out of favor with all the amazing stuff that have been coming out for all the other clans. So overall, this has been a pretty good support wave. Probably not as great as some people would have expected, because a lot of people were expecting Die Kaiser at the time, and a lot of more maybe Zeal, as I hinted for just a moment ago. But overall, I think we cannot really complain. They got an awesome premium card with Disaurus, as well as some new little tricks for basically the current build. So overall, I'm very excited for these cards, and I think a lot of you guys also are very happy with these new cards as well. But best way to know that is to let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of these new cards, the new addition for Dimension Police, as opinions are very widespread among certain cards, as I predicted into this video, where maybe some of my ratings might not really be in line with you initially thought. But who knows? Let me know in the comments down below all your thoughts and opinions on all the different cards, as well as the set in general. As always, I want to thank my supporters over at Patreon for making this video possible. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel, then head over to patreon.com/VanguardInsider to become a patron today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap. I'll see you guys in the next one.